Hayley's a well-written character, but Hayley is really annoying. Now, don't get me wrong, just because I don't like Hayley does not mean that Hayley isn't a good character. She is, specifically in terms of writing. However, there are major flaws to her writing, and the major flaws is the reason why I don't like Hayley, and is the reason why I actually find her annoying. And this is specifically to do with Hayley's hypocrisy. Like, Hayley is so hypocritical that she's basically a walking contradiction. She contradicts herself almost every single season. It's to the point in which, like I said in the hot take for the originals, Hayley doesn't really win any argument ever, like throughout the entire show. The only reason why she seems like she wins is because she's incredibly stubborn. She just ignores everything that you say and just somehow find any form of response that immediately avoid everything that you just told her. And secondly, the people that she tends to want to argue with don't want to argue with her. When they do, they beat her.
All this tension with you, Jack, and the wolves, we need to put it behind us. Give Jack the space he needs to run the pack as he sees fit. No more orders, no more favors. He's alpha, period.
Sorry. Did you really think I would ever agree to let Jackson control the wolves?
You will show him respect, Klaus. He is on our side and he's fighting for our daughter.
You know, I've spent all day with people who claim to be fighting for our daughter. Some I trust, some I do not. But one thing is for sure, that there is only one person that I trust when it comes to my child's safety, and that would be me. You know, you all seem to think this is a democracy. I assure you it is not. If Dahlia is coming, then she is a threat to my child, which means I decide how to protect her, no one else. And if Jackson or anyone strays from the course that I set, then they will answer to me. Your husband would do well to remember that. In fact, I think I'll leave it to you to remind him that way. When he does inevitably incur my wrath again, you'll only have yourself to blame.
I don't even understand why this is a problem. Yes, of course, Klaus's no allies issue is a really big problem, but with regards to Jackson being able to control exactly what the wolves do, as in having the complete say on what the wolves do, and nobody else having input on it, it's ludicrous because Jackson isn't really known for intellect. Jackson hasn't really been shown being able to go up against people at the level of the people that they're currently having to fight. They're going up against Dahlia. The whole purpose of the wolves even being in an alliance like that is to be an enforcement wing, as in have them help with strategic plans to hit the enemy. However, the key word in that is strategic, meaning you need a strategist to pull that off. Jackson isn't that. And if it's delegated to Hayley and Jackson say I only would answer to Hayley, Hayley never really give Jackson orders. Not because Hayley doesn't want to, but because Hayley isn't really a strategist. Every single major decision that Hayley has made is almost always rash and impulsive. Every single time. And most of the time it's because she's easily manipulated. Because when Hayley wants to achieve something or get something, she would do anything to make sure that she achieves it. So that's why, typically speaking, in a strategic battle of that level in which you're going up against someone that's not only really powerful but also really smart, you let the person that's really smart to handle that side. The last time they let Jackson do any form of planning, he nearly got the werewolves wiped out. The only reason why they survived is because Freya was being merciful. If she wasn't, there would be no pack. Because this genius thought it was a great idea to send a large chunk of the pack to attack Finn, who is a really powerful witch who could easily sense them from a long distance away. So he would know they're actually there. For some magical reason, he forgot that witches aren't particularly quick, but they're really powerful. Meaning, for you to attack them, you would want to sneak up on them with speed. And the best way to do that is by sending a small number of highly skilled werewolves, as in the best fighters of them, and have them attack Finn. But no, he sent a large chunk of them. And Finn and Freya spotted them immediately and set a trap for them. And the wolves amounted to nothing. They did nothing. Literally, the only thing they achieved is taking away a massive weapon from Finn. But after the wedding, they could have just all go back to the bayou and just stay there. The wolves weren't really a main factor. Once Dahlia attacked, Jackson immediately wanted to run away. And that isn't just from Dahlia attacking directly. That's just from Dahlia controlling him. He wanted to run. And when Dahlia did attack them directly, Dahlia was wiping them out while was literally sitting down. She wasn't even trying. So Hayley was going so hard for an army that amounted to nothing. An army that literally lost the very first battle they had. And then the next battle they had, they lost again. They didn't win a single anything. In the fight against Dahlia without Klaus and Freya, they would have lost. In fact, majority of it is mostly Klaus. If Jackson wasn't there and the pack decided to go back to the bayou on their own, without trying to influence Hayley to run away, which is a stupid plan, but I'll get to that plan later on. If Jackson and the pack decided to just leave, I think that Klaus would have easily beaten Dahlia a lot earlier than he actually did, without any of the struggles that he went through. He wouldn't have been daggered because there's no reason for him to be daggered.
Hayley!
I am not going to stand here quietly while you tell me what I can and cannot do to protect my daughter.
Our daughter.
Right. Ours. But it was your mother who tried to kill her. And who knows what your equally psychotic brother is up to.
I will deal with Finn.
And then what? Hope will always be the daughter of Klaus Mikaelson, the hybrid killer with 1,000 enemies. Don't you get it? It's you. You're the threat. You're so paranoid that you can't see that this wedding can help her. She can come home. The wolves will be on our side.
The wolves cannot be trusted.
In your paranoid mind, nobody can be trusted. Where does it end?
There is no end! Need I remind you I killed my own father in order to protect her?
Really? That's why you killed him? Or is it just that you are so terrified of letting someone, anyone, in?
I don't know why in season 2, Hayley's read on Klaus was so catastrophically bad. In season 1, she was a bit naive towards Klaus because she didn't really know him that well. And then in season 3, her read was excellent in that. But in season 2, it was really bad. Like, what the hell was she talking about? No, Klaus didn't kill his dad because he was scared of letting him in. Klaus let people in. He just doesn't let everyone in. I mean, you're still alive. Based on the fact that you're still alive and Klaus hasn't really done anything crazy towards you. Obviously not in the first couple episodes of the originals, but after that point, Klaus didn't really do much to Hayley. Most of the time, he was mostly trying to protect Hayley. Even after Hayley did some crazy accusations towards him, accusations that's a death sentence to anyone, and after multiple people tell Hayley that the very moment that Hope is born, Hayley will be killed by Klaus, turns out he didn't kill her. She's still perfectly healthy and perfectly fine. So, he's let you in. He also confides in both his brother and his sister, that would be obviously Elijah and Rebekah. Although yes, he does some crazy thing towards them, but he has no better allies when it comes to war. However, when it comes to Klaus confiding in people or letting them in, he's very selective on who he trusts when it comes to him fighting somebody. Because if he tells Rebekah something, literally Rebekah will take 5 steps and one random boy smiles at her and she immediately just spills the secret. So he can't fully confide in Rebekah. Hence why, typically speaking, in all of Klaus's battles, the person that's always at his side whenever they're fighting is usually Elijah. Although even with Elijah, at times Klaus doesn't fully confide in him, because that's a burden that Klaus has placed on himself from the jump. Klaus can ally to people, even people that aren't family members, but that doesn't mean that he's automatically going to be loyal to them just because he's allied to them. And also, Hayley has met Caroline and has seen Klaus and Caroline together, so she understands that yes, Klaus can let people in that isn't his siblings. And Hayley has seen Caroline and the relationship between Klaus and Caroline, so she's seen that Klaus can let other people in. So Klaus killing his dad has nothing to do with him letting him in. Like he said, he did it because he knew about Hope. As much as he didn't want to, he had to. Because even if he trusts him, and I believe that Klaus did, and Klaus didn't want to kill him because he wants to trust Ansel. The problem is, Ansel giving up the secret isn't a matter of trust, it's a matter of the fact that Esther has complete control over Ansel. Meaning Esther can just take that secret away from Ansel at will. Which is what Klaus was afraid of. Esther can just use magic and just grab any of Ansel's memory. That's why Klaus killed him. Not because he didn't want to let him in, but because Klaus needed to protect his child. And then on to the second thing. I'm of course referring to the notion that's consistently being pushed by Hayley and sometimes Jackson, which is that all the enemies of Hope is specifically created by Klaus. And that is a really confusing statement because none of the enemies were specifically created by Klaus. Like, generally speaking, the only time that there was somewhat of an indirect threat towards Hope's life because of something that Klaus did was in season 3. And that's when Klaus's sires started to attack the Mikaelsons. But at this point, the 2 major threats before this was Esther and Finn. Obviously, afterwards was Dahlia, and all 3 of them had little to do with Klaus. Esther wanted Hope dead because of something that happened before Klaus was born. Finn wanted Hope dead because of something that happened before Klaus was born. And Dahlia wanted Hope dead because of something that happened before Klaus was born. So none of them were a threat to Hope because of something that Klaus specifically did to them. Klaus didn't make them his enemies.
What happened?
Klaus made Aiden spy on us. Instead, he told me everything, so you killed him.
You killed him. One of the wolves sworn to protect our daughter.
So what if I did? This is what happens to anyone who dares cross me!
Just give us the word, Jackson.
Yes, come and have a go! But you'll be putting your life on the line for one who is all too willing to betray you. Perhaps this never would have happened if he'd have had a real alpha.
This is probably the dumbest moment in the entire show. And this is why you don't listen to Jackson, because to Jackson, 1 + 1 always equals Klaus Mikaelson. If he sneezes wrong, it has to be because Klaus is doing something. The fact that he came to the conclusion that Klaus killed Aiden backs pretty much everything I've said about him so far. Because it only takes 5 seconds to understand that Klaus couldn't have done this. Even if you ignore the whole scratches on Aiden's face, because the motive that you claim that Klaus had for killing Aiden, which was that Klaus found out that Aiden told you about him spying for him, if that's the motive for him killing Aiden, then why in tarnation is Jackson still alive? Yes, Klaus is a psychotic nutjob, but he isn't brain dead. And Aiden didn't just tell Jackson that he's been spying for Klaus, he basically told him that he's been undermining him. In fact, Aiden even told you that Klaus only manipulated him because he was stroking his ego by telling him that he should be alpha. Therefore meaning that Klaus was trying to undermine you, get rid of you, and make Aiden alpha. Somebody that he himself can control. Therefore meaning if Klaus did find out that Aiden was double crossing him, why would he kill him? He will still need him because he needs him as the alpha, because Aiden, other than Jackson and Hayley, is the most respected werewolf of the entire pack. So he wouldn't have killed him, and even if you would and you assume that hey, Klaus is a nutjob and would just kill just because he wants to kill and just because Aiden double crossed him, then again, you would have to think of the consequences of him killing Aiden. Because Aiden's death would automatically mean that 1, the entire pack will leave, and 2, Hayley will likely follow them, so Klaus will be risking the entire pack and Hayley. So if he was going to do something as rash as killing Aiden, knowing full well the consequences of that, why wouldn't he have killed Jackson knowing full well that would achieve exactly what he wants to achieve, getting rid of Jackson and propelling Aiden to be the alpha? He doesn't really need Jackson for anything. The only reason why Jackson is dead is because of Hayley. If Klaus kills for little to no reason, then Jackson would have been dead a long time ago. Which therefore means that Klaus wouldn't have done it. Now let's get to the point in which Klaus couldn't have done it. Why in tarnation would Klaus ever use his claws against Aiden? Aiden is not that strong. In fact, Klaus never ever uses his claws against anyone. When have you ever known Klaus to ever transform to fight anyone? And this isn't just for Elijah or Hayley, but also for Jackson. He's never known of Klaus transforming to fight anyone. I mean, he fought Klaus and Klaus didn't transform to fight him. Which therefore means this is somebody that doesn't know much about Klaus and is trying to frame him, or Klaus is trying to frame the werewolves. And like I said in the hot takes video, the second part is automatically nullified the very moment that Klaus admitted to it. Because if Klaus did take out Aiden, then that would mean that Klaus left his body on display. On purpose, therefore meaning he wanted all of you to find him. Which therefore means he'll be trying to sow the scent by having one of the werewolves find it. And therefore Jackson and Hayley finding out about it, with the sole purpose of making them believe that it was one of them. Therefore meaning if the werewolves found out by it, it wouldn't be some revelation. It would be directly because Klaus wanted them to find it. Meaning that when Klaus immediately admitted to killing Aiden, therefore nullifies everything I just said. Everything that Klaus would have hypothetically did to get rid of Aiden wouldn't make any sense. Because why would he want him to be found if he wasn't going to expect pressure? He would have just immediately said it wasn't me, it's probably one of your guys. And if he wasn't trying to sow dissent, why would he scratch his face and why would he leave him on display for anyone to find? So it has to be that somebody was trying to frame Klaus and they don't know much about him in terms of how he fights. Therefore meaning that it has to be either Freya or Dahlia. So what does this have to do with Hayley? Well, I understand Jackson having his mindset. He might be incredibly angry over the death of Aiden. So him immediately blaming Klaus, I might understand. But Hayley, ain't no way. Because first of all, Hayley isn't that close to Aiden to have that level of reaction. And 2, Hayley knows Klaus. Even though she hasn't known Klaus for a really long time like Elijah, she knows exactly how Klaus operates. The fact that Hayley immediately believed it, that's one. And then afterwards, she still somehow believed it even after a couple of hours. astound me. Also, Elijah believed it, but I'll get to him in a second. And in my opinion, the reason why Hayley found it so easy to believe is that Hayley wanted it to be Klaus so badly just so that she can use this as a way to get Elijah on her side. Because her and Jackson had already tried to run away with Hope before, and it didn't work because they were basically stopped by Klaus. So she needs somebody that can actually stop Klaus to help them escape. So she will need Elijah's help. But she's going to have a tough time to convince Elijah about taking Hope away from Klaus, because Elijah knows that Klaus would do anything to protect Hope. So she needed a way to convince Elijah. In comes Aiden's dead body. And as you saw immediately afterwards, Hayley tried to convince Elijah on allowing them to escape and helping them to escape. Right, speaking of the escape plan, let's try to understand exactly why these geniuses believe that running away from Dahlia is the best option for them. Right, firstly, the thing that the show keep trying to push at the end of the season, that Klaus is just unnecessarily being difficult for no reason, especially when it comes to them running away with Hope, makes no sense to me. Yes, of course, Klaus was being difficult to some of them, specifically Freya. He was never really difficult towards Hayley. He gives her his direct reasoning for why he doesn't want Hayley to do a certain thing. Klaus wouldn't just do that out of spite. If there's a valid reason for your plan and your plan makes sense, he will back down from the position that he initially had. I mean, he didn't want Hayley to marry Jackson because that would mean that Hayley would have to tell Jackson about Hope. But he backed down anyways within the day because Hayley gave him compelling arguments. But the arguments that Hayley gave with regards to running away makes no sense. Everything about that plan makes no sense. Yes, at times Klaus can be difficult, but in this situation, Klaus isn't the one that's being difficult because he's the only one that was being rational. Hayley was the one that's being difficult because she did not want to listen to reason. Her only reasoning was, hey, Dahlia was powerful enough to take down the entire pack and could easily beat all of you guys. So our best bet is for me, the wolves, and Hope to just run away. If you just said she's powerful enough to take on all the originals, she's powerful enough to easily beat all of the werewolves. If she's that powerful, why would running away with your only backup being the werewolves, the weakest part of that army? She tried to compare fighting in the Mikaelson compound and fighting away, like for example what happened at the church, like it's the same thing. What happened at the church was an ambush. They were caught off guard. Although they went there to fight, they wasn't expecting what they got and they were at a disadvantage. The exact same thing will happen if Dahlia actually tries to attack the compound. We literally see that play out. The only reason why they couldn't kill Dahlia was because they got the wrong weapon. So if you stay in the compound, you're at a massive advantage rather than you leaving. Dahlia isn't Finn. Finn, you can take the fight to him because 1, Finn isn't anywhere near as powerful as Dahlia, and 2, Finn isn't immortal, to the point in which fighting him would be pointless. Finn was very beatable, hence why you would want to take the fight to him, like I said earlier. But with Dahlia, your best bet is to create as much disadvantage as you possibly can. Staying in a compound in unfamiliar territory with your best weapons creates that disadvantage. The Bayou can create that disadvantage as well, but the problem is you don't have the muscle to fight off Dahlia even if you had a plan. The plan to take down Dahlia in the Mikaelson compound would have only worked simply because Elijah was there. You didn't really have that many werewolves left. Your strongest werewolves are all dead. The only ones that are left are you and Jackson in terms of like the strongest werewolves. If Dahlia was capable of easily attacking the compound, she would have done that. But she's well aware of the disadvantage that will put her through. If she didn't care about disadvantage and advantages, then she would have never tried to put Michael and Klaus at a disadvantage by ambushing them. If Hayley would have given Klaus a good justification, Klaus wouldn't mind letting Hope go, but Hayley tried to paint it as just Klaus is being stubborn for no reason. Klaus has done that before, in fact, from a suggestion from Hayley in season 1. He gave Hope to Rebekah at the end of season 1 because Hayley told him to. Because it was a good plan and it was a good way to hide Hope from Esther. But with persistence, Esther nearly found Hope. So Hope had to be moved. In fact, Klaus could have just brought Hope back to the compound because there's no point of hiding her anymore. But he didn't. He tried to hide her again away from him by having Elijah and Cammy be with her. But again, with some persistence, Freya and Finn found them. And by the way that Freya describes Dahlia, Dahlia is more powerful than both of them and by far. So if all of these people can find Hope, no matter where Hope is, why wouldn't Dahlia be able to do the same thing? So this makes me come to the conclusion that the reason why Hayley came to the decision of actually running away with Hope, more specifically going to hide out in the bayou, was more of a ploy. She really just wanted to run away completely. She wanted to leave the Mikaelsons completely. Like she wanted to be gone and she wanted to go with the werewolves. That's why she didn't bother to take Elijah. I mean, Klaus will very likely notice that Jackson is the reason why Hayley is even pushing for this. He knows that Jackson is trying to get Hayley away from the Mikaelsons and away from Elijah by using Klaus as a scapegoat, and by using the protection of Hope as a good reasoning to do that. The moment that they left, they would have run away. That was very likely Jackson's plan all along, and he was just trying to soft launch it in order to get Hayley on board and actually make it so that Elijah allows Hayley to go. That's why he never even mentioned taking any witch. That's why he never mentioned anything about taking an original with them. The very moment that Hayley didn't mention Elijah, Klaus would have very likely immediately noticed that this is actually more so Jackson's plan than it is Hayley's. And obviously Elijah with his idiot brain allowed it to happen. And then Hayley was easily convinced by Jackson to run away completely, which led to everything that happened at the end of season 2. Now we're going to talk about the ending.
Do you have any idea what you have taken from me?
The very thing you sought to take from me, the chance to raise our daughter. Your punishment fits your crime.
Your family was ruining her life.
My family saved her life while you were off playing hide and seek in the forest.
Let me go, he'll kill her!
He'll kill you!
There's a very short list of people who've tried to take Hope away from me, and you're the only one left breathing.
Are you that delusional, Klaus? You cursed all of us. Every wolf that I fought for, everyone that stood up for our daughter, you took all of them away from their families.
Yes, your precious pack. That family you chose over us, and in doing so, you chose over Hope.
Is that what you're planning on telling her when she got older and asked for me? That I abandoned her? My parents left me. You've turned their backs on you. Look at us now, Klaus.
Klaus!
She deserves something better than what we had. That is all I have ever wanted for her. Something better. Fight back! Fight back!
I didn't exactly understand Hayley's point, because exactly what she was arguing for could easily be argued against her. Her initial point and the reason why she was angry, initially of course before she immediately began deflecting, was that Klaus took Hope away from her. But she was already planning to do that to Klaus. In fact, she did do that. And Klaus didn't took her away from Hope, she just couldn't see Hope because, well, she physically couldn't. She was in wolf form. But when she can, she's allowed to. However, she was planning to take Hope away from Klaus forever, completely. Klaus wouldn't be allowed to see Hope at all. And apparently, what Klaus did is far worse than what she was planning to do. Because apparently, Klaus is the sole reason as to why everything in season 2 occurred the exact same way it occurred. Like, Dolly wouldn't be after Hope if Klaus wasn't in the vicinity. Whether or not Klaus is in the situation, Hope would still be targeted by Dahlia. Hope wasn't in danger because of Klaus. Technically speaking, it was the other way around. Did Klaus put a curse on them to punish them? Yes. Did he have to? Also yes. They don't really have many people to stand up against Dahlia. Dahlia would have found them, and if Klaus wasn't there, they would have been dead. All of them, Hayley, Jackson, and the rest of the pack, all of them would have been gone, and Hope would have been taken anyways, very easily. But Klaus convinced Dahlia by using the Crescent Curse, by playing it saying that it was just him trying to punish Hayley. But generally speaking, although yes, he was trying to punish Hayley, but that is the best way to make sure that Hayley doesn't die, and it's being convincing enough. And the thing is, Klaus easily won this argument. The only reason why Hayley seemed like she won is because Klaus stopped arguing back and just stopped fighting. Literally every single point that Hayley had, Klaus had a very swift and very easy counter. And I know you're probably saying, oh, you're only saying all of this about Hayley because you're trying to defend Klaus. No, she did the same thing to Elijah as well. Every single time, Hayley's biggest way to try to control Klaus and sometimes to try to control Elijah is by mentioning Hope, by using Hope against them. More specifically, by trying to use the protection of Hope against them. But if anyone even dares trying to utter the same thing towards her, like I just saw when Klaus told her that she picked the pack over Hope, and what she heard was that Klaus is basically saying that she abandoned Hope, even though Klaus never really said that. He was saying that her decision making put the werewolves first, then Hope second. As in, a decision to run away was done primarily because of the werewolves, not because of Hope. In fact, it put Hope in more danger. That was Klaus's argument, but she didn't hear all of that. And the reason why I'm saying that she did this to Elijah was because after Tristan killed Jackson, Because Hayley was so guilt-stricken by the death of Jackson, not just because, well, Jackson died, but because she knows deep down that she's the reason why that happened. She got involved with the whole Tristan stuff, and Jackson paid a price for it. So she decided the best option was to hunt down every single Strix that was involved in it, and adversity would have dragged the Mikaelsons into a war with the Strix, a war that the Mikaelsons were trying to avoid, because it just came from a war in which they nearly lost Hope. Hayley's whole argument was that Klaus is creating way too many new enemies and he's putting Hope in danger because of it. But now Hayley's the one that's creating new enemies by hunting down Strix members who would very likely retaliate just like they did with Jackson. And Elijah tried to tell her that and said that you were putting Hope's life at more risk by attacking the Strix, but Hayley snapped at him just because he mentioned Hope and tried to use Hope against her. Even though what he was saying was true because the Strix were going to retaliate. And again, Klaus and Elijah aren't the only people. She did it to somebody else before that.
Seriously?
Tyler?
You don't want to fight me, Hayley. You know you can't beat a hybrid.
Ah! Let me go! You backstabbing half-breed piece of
Shut up!
This easily summarized the entire video for me because Hayley was calling Tyler a backstabber. Yes, the same Hayley that caused the hybrid massacre. Yes, the same massacre that involved all of Tyler's friends. In fact, they were also Hayley's friends. And on top of that, Tyler's mom died. All because Hayley saw them out for, guess what? A flash drive or USB stick of potential information, and she gave them up very easily and very quickly. Did not care at all about what exactly is going to happen to them. And when Tyler confronted her in the original, she barely even addressed any of that. Like the fact that Tyler was even on the warpath was specifically because of her, because of something that she started. Yes, of course, Tyler bears a bit of the blame, but Hayley was the reason why all of that happened. And Hayley called Tyler the backstabber. Let that sink in. Now, don't get me wrong, about Hayley, just because I dislike Hayley does not mean that she isn't a great character. I dislike a lot of characters. I think that was Hayley's biggest flaw. She was a bit of a hypocrite. Hayley's hypocritical actions was mostly used as plot device to push the plot forward. As in, this scene wouldn't have happened if Hayley didn't try to confront Klaus about using Hope to try to claim more hybrids. But again, Hayley is a good character. And to even out the balance of nature, I'm probably going to talk about Hayley with regards to her and Klaus when I discuss relationships in the Vampire Diaries universe.